Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Carrolet Thomas, and welcome to my channel. Thank you to those of you who have subscribed to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Today's message is leave trouble on the other side of the door. This prophetic word and prophetic warning come from a dream that I had during an afternoon nap on June 10th, 2026. I actually had fallen asleep sitting up. Leave trouble on the other side of the door. In the dream, I and someone else were staying overnight with someone we knew. And during the night, someone came and knocked on that person's door. The person that we were staying with knew the person, but more than that, they knew that that person was involved with some things of which we were not aware. And the person did not let them in, as they knew more than we did, and they knew that we did not need to be associated with them and their baggage and or problems. And they also appeared to be staying their distance as well. Then I woke up from the dream. God has given me an interpretation of this dream, in which I will share with you. And we will also look at a couple of biblical examples that support this prophetic word and prophetic warning. This dream will not be for everybody, but it is for many people. In this prophetic dream, God has revealed that there are some people that you know that are in trouble with God. They have disobeyed God, disobeyed God's prophets, ignored God's directives and instructions, moved by their flesh and sinful desires, not listened to wisdom, been envious, jealous, covetous, greedy, manipulative, conniving, competed, compared, compromised, used collusion, gatekeep, created chaos and confusion, lied, beguiled, spread rumors, slandered, libeled, used flying monkeys, manipulated, misused, abused, etc. And until now, it was kept undercover. But God is exposing, and the chickens are coming home to roost. However, if you are not discerning and or listening to God, you are subject to being tricked into believing what the guilty party or parties are saying and or doing. God is not wanting the righteous to get caught up in the wrath that is coming for those that have not done what was right by him and or by others. The reason why some people are going through certain hardships right now is because of their misdeeds and because of the condition of their heart, of which God sees, not just the facade that people show and or their empty words, where their lives do not match what they say. God says that vengeance is his. He shall repay. And payday is here for some and near for others. God is warning those that are not in trouble with him to leave trouble on the other side of the door. Unless you know without the shadow of a doubt that God has assigned you to be involved with someone's situation, and there are times when God does assign us to be involved with other people's situations. Unless this is one of those times, you need to leave trouble on the other side of the door. Because anybody that is aligned with people that are out of alignment with God and what God has said will be dealt with as well. You will begin to feel the heat and suffer unnecessary losses. Now, I must admit that sometimes people mean well, and sometimes people don't know. But that will not change the outcome because God is sending this warning. There are some people that know that they have disobeyed God, and some have done it many times over and are looking to draw others in that they believe will be sympathetic and believe that they are not the cause for their hardships. Well, you can't blame everything on the devil. Some things are the devil in people and outright not obeying God. And God is saying, use a long handled spoon with these people and leave trouble on the outside of the door. Let me repeat that. And God is saying, use a long handled spoon with these people and leave trouble on the other side of the door. Now, let's look at a couple of biblical examples of people that disobeyed God and did not use wisdom and created hardships for themselves and others and their outcomes. First, Jonah. Jonah's refusal to preach to Nineveh caused a massive, life-threatening storm. This jeopardized the innocent sailors' lives and property. The crisis ended when the crew threw Jonah overboard. God then miraculously rescued Jonah with a giant fish, ultimately allowing him to fulfill his mission and save Nineveh. The problems caused for others, the sailors. When Jonah boarded the ship to Tarshish in the opposite direction of Nineveh, his rebellion brought down a violent storm. Terrified, the pagan crew was forced to throw their valuable cargo overboard to stay afloat and eventually had to throw a man into the sea to save their own lives. For Jonah, his disobedience caused him immense physical and spiritual distress. While the crew fought the storm, Jonah was asleep. His flight required him to confess his sins, and he had to face being thrown into the raging sea to his near death. The outcome, the rescue. Rather than letting him drown, God appointed a great fish to swallow Jonah. In the dark belly of the fish, Jonah prayed, repented, and acknowledged God's sovereignty. The fish then vomited him onto dry land. The fulfillment. Jonah ultimately obeyed God and went to Nineveh to preach. The result. Hearing Jonah's warning, the entire city of Nineveh repented, and God spared them from destruction. There are times when people know that they have not done right, when they know that they have not obeyed God. And if you let them, they will connect with you and or draw you in and play the victim when they are the wrong that did wrong. Be discerning and use wisdom. Leave trouble on the other side of the door. Next, the 5 foolish virgins. In the parable of the 10 virgins, and that's Matthew chapter 25, verses 1 through 13, the 5 foolish virgins lacked extra oil for their lamps. Their lack of foresight caused a crisis when the bridegroom was delayed. They missed the wedding procession, were denied entry to the banquet, and were ultimately disowned by the bridegroom. How their lack of preparation caused problems for themselves. Because they only brought enough fuel for a short window, their lamps went out when the bridegroom finally arrived at midnight. They scrambled to find vendors to buy oil and missed the procession. For others, the wise virgins. When the foolish virgins realized they were out of fuel, they tried to borrow oil from the 5 wise virgins. Because the wise virgins only brought enough for themselves, they had to refuse the request. Sharing would have meant both groups ran out of fuel. For others, the bridegroom. The delay disrupted the traditional wedding festivities, forcing the host to deal with unprepared members of the bridal party. Ultimately, the bridegroom had to turn away those who were not ready, severing their connection to the celebration. The final outcome. While the foolish virgins were away purchasing oil, the bridegroom arrived. The 5 wise virgins, who were prepared, entered the wedding banquet, and the door was permanently shut. When the foolish virgins returned and pleaded to be let in, the bridegroom declared, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you," leaving them locked out in the darkness. And God is saying, leave trouble on the other side of the door. For those of us that practice being prepared proactively rather than having to react to everything that comes up, we are not responsible for those that do not follow the advice that exhibit in our words and our deeds. As a prophet, I cry loud and spare not, saying what God has said, but I am not responsible for people choosing to not obey God, nor obey the word of the Lord. It is a personal choice, and people have to live with the consequences, good or bad. Disobedience generally leads to 4 universal consequences. 1. Loss of privileges and trust. Immediate restrictions or revoked freedoms, and damaged personal or professional relationships due to broken trust. 2. Legal and professional repercussions, fines, imprisonment, or legal penalties for breaking laws, alongside potential job loss, demotion, or a permanently damaged professional reputation. 3. Internal conflict, the onset of guilt, anxiety, stress, or a loss of inner peace. And 4. Wider repercussions, unintended negative consequences that affect family, colleagues, or peers. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 through 29, God tells us the blessings that we will get for obeying Him and the curses that we get for disobeying Him. It is simple and easy to understand. There are some people that pledge more allegiance to their family, their pastor, their church, their job, etc., than they do to God and to obeying God. That is not wise. We are to obey God in word and in deed, in spirit and in truth, without debate and without delay, no matter who likes it and no matter who doesn't. It is real talk that some people are in trouble with God, and it is reaping season for their misdeeds, whether they let you know it or not. Let me repeat that. It is real talk that some people are in trouble with God, and it is reaping season for their misdeeds, whether they let you know it or not. This prophetic dream is a serious prophetic warning from God. Leave trouble on the other side of the door. If you do not, you will not like the outcome. I hope and pray that this message has been a blessing to you. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel led, you can make a donation. Thank you for listening and supporting my YouTube channel. God bless you and just be happy.